Okay, so last but not least, we've got George Sandford from SalesLoft, who is a enterprise AE. He has a huge amount of experience navigating large accounts, understanding how to position yourself as an expert, multi-threading and getting the most out of the opportunities that you're building. Super excited for you to be the final speaker today, George. Once you've spoken, stay up live and then we'll kick off the Q&A. So get your questions ready, everybody, so we can bring up the panel shortly. Over to you, George.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. Great to see you all today. Thanks for staying till the end to make my piece of the presentation. So as James mentioned, my name's George Sandford. I'm an enterprise account executive at SalesLoft, and I'm super passionate about the profession of sales. So super happy to be here, and if you can take anything from this presentation, then that makes me happy. I've got about 10 years experience in selling software. I've been both on the side of the vendors like Salesforce, SalesLoft, sold HR solutions in the past, and I've also been on the delivery and the consultancy side, implementation side of software. I've sold from everything from SMB all the way up to what I'm doing now with global strategic accounts at SalesLoft. So I've got a couple of things I want to share with you today about what I've learned in the last 10 years. And really the topic I'm going to focus in on is how no matter what you think, your product is completely irrelevant. It's irrelevant, and how do we lead with value? And so hopefully take a couple of tips from this. So the first thing I wanted just to call out is, the fact is, all the speakers today have spoken about executives and getting to power. Executives don't care about what your product does, about what your solution does. What they do care is what your solution can do for them and their business. And so first thing I really want to double click on is as a seller, hopefully a trusted advisor, where do we start? The first point my advice would be is around invest in your business acumen and your business expertise. And so what do I mean about that? When engaging with a customer or engaging with a prospect, I would really encourage you to prioritize learning deeply about how the customer or prospect operates. And the standard that I set myself and the team that we partner with is get to a level where you understand enough about their company and how they operate that you could go for an interview in your chosen profession. So get to a stage where you could get through a first couple of interviews in that organization, right? Do that sort of level of research. So the things that I would be looking at is business structure, right? How are they structured as an organization? How do they operate from that perspective? What's the culture like? What products do they sell and how do they sell them? How do they win and why are they selected? What makes them unique in their marketplace? What do their customers think of them? And who are their competitors? Right. So once you've started to build up a picture of what your customers and prospects are into, how they operate, you can then start to pivot around understanding or seeking to understand what their most strategic goals are. Nothing about your organization, nothing about your product, everything about your customer or prospect. And I would strongly encourage you to seek information that is relevant to what you sell and the solution and the outcomes that you drive, but also the ones that aren't. Because when you're partnering with enterprise, strategic, large organizations, right, you're not going to be the only thing that they are interested in, right? They are going to be focusing, execs, CEOs, CFOs will have numerous projects and initiatives that they're focusing on. So seek to understand as much as possible about what they are prioritizing. How do you do that? So the first thing I would look to do is go out and read their company report, read their annual report online. Second thing I'd look to do, seek advice from your network. Can you figure out, has anyone engaged with that client before? And again, you're seeking to understand how they operate, not so much about what their big, their tech stack is or anything like that. What is their business focused on? And then finally, I would go out and engage with low-level people. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. Double clicking on the annual report for just a minute. So a lot of new reps, and certainly myself earlier in my career, you see these huge annual reports, go, where the hell do I start with reading a 40-page annual report, which is a load of jargon potentially? So asking for advice around your organization. But for me, there are three key things I look for. Read the executive summary, right? The chairman, the CEO will always put a page or two for executive summary, what their organization is focused on. Second thing is their strategy. How are they executing their strategy? That's going to help you figure out what are the big strategic initiatives that filter down through the entire organization. And thirdly, risks, right? What are the risks that they see or they foresee impacting the strategy and their vision for their organization? So coming back to the then engaging with mid-level contacts, or I'm big on engaging C-suite. Big on engaging as senior as possible. We've spoken about it earlier. But why do we engage mid-level? Is to find out more information about the organization. What initiatives are ongoing? Now, I'm being really clear with this, is that we don't engage these mid-level folks to book a meeting, to create an opportunity in our pipeline, right? Because that would be false. But that is really just to learn about the organization, right? So that's step one, is investing in business acumen and getting expertise about their organization. Step number two is build your hypothesis. And what I mean by hypothesis is that is your assumption, that is your educated guess on how your organization can support the outcomes that they are looking to drive towards. Okay, so we can, as an example, right, our product, our solution helps customers drive efficiency to increase something. This allows you to drive XYZ impact, which ties nicely into the big goal that you are publicly talking about on your website, on your annual report. When I would build out this hypothesis, the next step then is to go and test out that hypothesis in the organization. And again, what I mean by testing the hypothesis, take this hypothesis to the mid-level folks that you'd perhaps spoken to before. And we're testing this because these folks that aren't going to be able to say yes to us, they could definitely say no and push us somewhere else. But test the hypothesis to make sure that what you have created resonates and is along the right lines, essentially. Take that as well and take their feedback and build up that hypothesis. So when you take that to the final person, which we'll get to just now, it's really tailored and it's as accurate as possible. And the final thing here is about being bold. Rod spoke about it earlier. I am a Tottenham fan, unfortunately. So be bold and once you've built up this hypothesis of the outcomes that your organization may be able to support your customer or prospect achieve and how that ties back to their big strategic goals, take that as high as you physically possibly can, right? To the CEO, whatever the type of organization you're selling into, to your key buyer, take that right to the top. And if you've got it right, happy days. But the likelihood is you probably have missed a couple of things, but that's totally okay, because this way of approaching an engagement will be different to your competitors. I guarantee it. And that sets you apart. And often that will warrant or give you enough credibility to continue a conversation. So final thing we're going to talk about, because my time is pretty much up, is try to forget your product. So unlearn your product. I spoke to one of my colleagues about this the other week at SalesLoft. He's been at SalesLoft since the beginning of EMEA, and trying to get his head around how we can unlearn how much he knows about our product is hard. But great opportunity if you're new into a company. What do you do around your onboarding and enablement, and where should you invest your time, right? This is really hard to do. And as a seller, you need to truly believe in the product and solution that you are selling to be successful, right? I don't doubt that at all. But learn to talk about outcomes of your solution versus what your solution does. Okay, so it's a really small change, but talk about the outcomes of what we enable versus this feature, that feature. Because like we said at the beginning, the executives don't care about what your product does. They care about what your product does for them. So a couple of tips on this, which I've done throughout my career. So try to unlearn. You've got a huge team around you, most likely. Certainly if you're an enterprise seller, you'll have solution engineers, architects, customer success managers. They're the folks that you should really rely on for deep product expertise. and play a little game and do some role play. So a great role play to do would be the so what exercise. So do some positioning of your solution, your hypothesis, and just ask yourself every single sentence, well, so what? What does that mean? Okay, well, we can help increase efficiency in XYZ. Okay, well, so what? Well, this enables you to achieve da 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 da, and so on and so on and so on. You really get to the so what of your statement, and ultimately enables you to lead with value. So in summary, my 3 main points were: invest in your business acumen and your business expertise as a priority. Build out a really strong hypothesis of value and be bold with who you engage that on, and learn to forget your product. So yeah, great to see everyone today, and I guess opening up for Q&A, James.